It's Friday, the end of the week. I'm the Prez, excited to be with Bryan, Leonard, and Dave Cokin. It's First Pitch, everyone. And you can find us every day, Monday to Friday, at Wager Talk TV. We're going to take apart every single game on the board today in baseball. But before that, a few things we need to discuss. And really quick, Bryan, how are you? How was your week?
Everything's great. I know you're excited because it's the end of the week, not that you're with Dave and I.
Well, I mean, listen, I love this Friday show. I learned so much from the two of you guys. So no, I'm happy to do it. But yeah, look, I mean, I got a relaxing week, and then next week I'm off to Cape Cod. First time I've ever been there. I'm excited about that. So yeah, it's all good. Listen, I want to talk about what we were just talking about off air. Brian, I've been talking about Buster and his Canadian football a lot. He's 6-0 to start the season, and he has a 5% play at wagertalk.com up for tonight. And the bottom line is, you were saying to me that you play Buster Sports. You actually bet his plays in the Canadian Football League.
People are always talking about buying plays and things like that. I don't have time to handicap. Dave and I were just talking a little bit about Canadian football. I don't handicap Canadian football. So if I follow somebody that I know is good at it, I'll trade plays. I'll buy plays from those kind of guys. And so I've got tennis guys. I've got I don't think I've ever watched a full soccer game in my life. But I got guys that bet soccer that are really good. Carmine's really good at soccer.
Yeah.
So if I can get a guy that's really good at this, I mean, we've got the WNBA guy.
Bobby Liggs
is very good at that. So if Bobby's got a play, I bet it. I mean, even though I sell plays, basically most of my income is from betting. So if I could get a guy who's very good at what he does and I trust him, I bet it.
You know, I'm exactly the same way. I bet Kyle Anthony's UFC. I bet Bobby Liggs' WNBA, and I bet Buster's Canadian football. I bet Carmine soccer, and we have another great soccer guy, Bryan, up at Sports Memo, Nick Borman, who's also killing it in that sport. And the thing about soccer is you get to play it every single day, and most of the times the games are over before you go into the night action. So, yeah, I'm with you 100%, man.
I have a friend of mine who does Mexican baseball. He's really good at it.
There's a guy that's been known for years to be dominate Mexican baseball, but he's hard to get the plays from.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and we know a guy.
By the way, listen, I'll throw this in. I mean, shameless plug. Why not? If you bet my college football, since I joined Wager Talk, you're hitting about 65%. So, they're kind of worth playing.
Yeah, you think it's unbelievable. But yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I mean, I bet all of these guys too, and I keep telling everybody, you got to be playing Buster Sports' Canadian football. You got to be playing Bobby Liggs' WNBA. You're literally going to make more money than pretty much betting any other sport. I want to give out a couple of promo codes, and then we're going to get straight into it. The first promo code is Hakeem. Hakeem Profits recently joined us over at wagertalk.com. He is on a 12-4 run in baseball. He has a play up for Friday. It's $15 instead of $25. And use the promo code, gotta get that, H50. That's H for Harold 50. So head over to wagertalk.com. And if you want to play Hakeem Profits' baseball plays, I use the promo code H50. As well, over at sportsmemo.com, Matt Joseph, who's over 60% in the last month of baseball. He was on the show last week, knows his stuff. You could get him for half off over at Sports Memo. Use the promo code half off, HALFOFF. It's HALFOFF. That's half off for Matt Joseph over at Sports Memo. And H50 for half off Hakeem over at wagertalk.com. And Andrew McGinnis, Bryan, I don't know if you follow him in Canadian football. 9-0 to start the year. Lives in Halifax, knows Canadian football really, really well. And guys, you can get him for $99 for the month or $2.99 for his entire Canadian football season. And like Buster, I mean, he is just outstanding in that sport. Boys, let's get straight to it. Milwaukee on the road, 46-42. They're playing Pittsburgh, 42-44. Milwaukee lost 3 in a row, all to Cincinnati, who's playing great ball. Pittsburgh's won 3 of their last 4 against the Cubs. So that's an impressive feat. Milwaukee finds themselves as a short favorite, minus, anywhere from 111, 112, 115. And the over and under is 10.5. Dave, I'll go to you first. What do you like in this game?
Nothing. I made the line 110. It's right there. Davies had been in a really bad run. I mean, he'd been getting destroyed. He did pitch well in his last start, but 4 bad starts prior to that. Braun's been a surprise for Pittsburgh. He's really not very good, but, he's flashing some pretty good command, and that's helping to camouflage what is pretty mediocre stuff. If I had to play the game, I think I would probably take the Pirates, but I don't have to. And it just looks like it's priced right to me. By the way, very quick promo for me. I'm up 36% net gain over the past 3 weeks in baseball. So it's falling into place right now.
Beautiful, Dave. Let's get some promos for you. Next time we do the show, we'll get on that. Just to let everybody know, there's no first pitch Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week, and Thursday and Friday. Marco will be hosting the show.
And I will not be here.
And Dave will not be there. He's going to Delray with a female friend. Booyah! Del Mar, Delray, all the same thing to this Canadian. Bryan, I like the under in this Pittsburgh-Milwaukee game. In the last 10 games, Milwaukee has not scored over 4 runs, 9 of those 10 games. They were shut out their last 2 against Cincinnati. And Pittsburgh, although they've put up some big numbers, they've also put up a couple of 1s and a 3. I think this game's going to go under. 10.5 seems like a big number for me. What do you like in this one?
Yeah, I kind of looked at that too. Also looking at the dog. The last 5 times these two played, none of the scores have been over 8 runs in those games. David mentioned Stephen Brault playing a little bit over his head. I've watched a couple of his starts, and the defense hasn't really helped him out. So his numbers are actually a little bit better than what they're showing. His last 7 starts, average game score 49, which is about league average. Zach Davies, on the other hand, at 45. So as Dave pointed out, he's struggling. Davies got off to a great start, and a lot of luck involved. There's been some aggression. We know it was coming, and we've seen that with Davies here. Stephen Brault has faced Milwaukee 5 times since 2016. His average game score is 56. So he's done very well against the Brewers. He's already faced them twice this year, 52 and 57. So Milwaukee hasn't been able to figure him out. And you're right about the Brewers struggling right now offensively. Going back to their last 10 games, they've only had 1 game where they scored more than 4 runs.
Yeah.
Brewers are struggling right now, and we've got a lefty going in there. And in Milwaukee on the season is 35 and 28 against righties, but only 11 and 14 versus lefties. So I'm looking at Pittsburgh here. I haven't made any plays yet. I got 5 that I've circled. Pittsburgh's one of them, but you wouldn't be able to talk me out of the under also, as I think there's some value there.
He's Bryan Leonard, one of the best baseball handicappers on the planet. You can find him at wagertalk.com. Philadelphia, Dave, we'll go to you first. They're playing the New York Mets. Phillies 3 games above 500, and the New York Mets just cannot seem to get it going. They did win, surprisingly, 2 of their last 3 games. They beat Atlanta 8-5, and then the Yankees 4-2. Tonight we've got Velasquez versus DeGrom. And the Mets find themselves a big favorite. They came out at minus 200. They've now been bet down. The lowest on the board is a minus 171 at 5 dimes. But on a whole, it's around minus 174. The over and under is 8.5 in this game. I really don't have much opinion here. I go to you.
Well, it's the typical DeGrom situation where the guy's so good, he's going to be a big favorite, but the Mets don't win when he pitches. Not that they win a lot when anybody else pitches either. That's why they're 9 games under 500. But DeGrom is constantly beset by a lack of offense. Maybe he'll get some tonight with Velasquez on the mound for Philadelphia. Velasquez is a very unreliable pitcher. One note on this is that, and this applies to a lot of games this weekend, bullpens could be a little bit better than normal this weekend because it's all hands on deck with all the time off coming up.
Yeah, great point.
As an example, the Mets have Steven Matz in the bullpen for this weekend, which is, before you turn your nose up at that, bear in mind the Mets don't have any lefties in the bullpen, which has been a big problem for them. Well, now they've got a lefty, and they might spot him in a situation where they need a lefty after DeGrom is done. These are little things that don't get factored into the line, but that really could matter. I think the Mets will win this baseball game. I'm not prepared to lay that kind of a price because they're a bad baseball team, but
yeah,
I would not be running to the window with the dog here.
I'm with you on that. Even though DeGrom, his last 2 outings just have not gone well. Great point about the bullpen. Bryan, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, we talk about DeGrom not getting any run support. Go back the last 3 years, and win-loss record doesn't mean a ton, but with a guy like DeGrom, you would think it's pretty good. He's 29-26 the last 3 years, and he's won a Cy Young Award, and he's been one of the best pitchers in baseball. This reminds me a little bit about the Indians. The Indians have always had these great pitchers to starting pitchers, and they can't score any runs. And it's very similar. You find the same thing. Just because of the starting pitcher, you're laying 200 a lot of times when the Indians are healthy with their starters. Same thing with DeGrom here. I can't lay that number, and as Dave pointed out, you can't get a guy much like Vasquez, where one day he's great and the next day he's terrible. And we see so much of that in Major League Baseball. Half of the Phillies starting rotations that way. This is a game I'm going to be passing.
Atlanta, they're hosting Miami tonight. Miami's lost 4 in a row. Played to the under the last 3 games. Atlanta's won their last 2 games. They went 2-1 against Philadelphia. They played to the over last night. We got Yamamoto versus Tehran on the mound tonight. Atlanta minus 192. The line came out at minus 190. There is a 183 on the board, but it's holding pretty steady. The over and under is 10 here. And, even though I've been betting Atlanta pretty much every game to the over all year, it's tough to do that with the Miami team. This Miami team just struggles to score. I'm going to pass on this game. Dave, what do you like?
I think you can make a case that you might see some runs here because really it doesn't matter how you can be a bad offense, but if you keep getting this, you'll score some runs. And Julio Tehran is having a lot of control problems. He was pitching pretty well for a while, but he seems to have devolved, if you will, back into what he usually is, which is a guy with shaky control who can become very hittable when he's not able to locate his slider. Yamamoto was sensational in his first couple of starts, but as figured to happen, he is starting to come back down to earth. Hitters are starting to get a book on him. His stuff is not really that good, and his command is starting to slip a little bit. I think he was a bit of fool's gold early on, but he did pay off his backers. Price looks too high to me with Atlanta coming out of a big series against Philadelphia. They could let down here against the Marlins, but I'm not trusting Yamamoto against this Atlanta offense. My lean here would be to the over.
To the over. Well, obviously I'm not against that. It's an Atlanta team. Bryan, what are you doing in this game?
Last 2 years, Atlanta against Miami, 22-6 straight up. They've dominated Miami here. And Dave talked about Tehran with his control problems. His last 7 starts, 6 of those starts, he walked 3 or more batters. He's been struggling. I don't know if I'm against Yamamoto here because he's pitched 4 games. The second game, he played St. Louis on the 12th of June. Then he came back on the 18th. He was even better on the 18th with a 78 game score as opposed to a 74. Then he plays Philadelphia on the road, nice hitters park, 58. And then next time he plays Philadelphia again, where they just saw him 6 days beforehand, and he shoots the 40. So now he gets a team that hasn't seen him before. I think there may be a little bit of an advantage there. He's not a big strikeout guy. The last 2 games, as David pointed out, the 4 walks in each of those 2 against Philadelphia. Still, I don't think we have enough information on Yamamoto as of yet. But it's hard to back a number like we're going to see for the Braves here with Tim Ryan. This is a game I'll be setting out.
He's Bryan Leonard, Dave Cokin with us. You're watching First Pitch. You can find us every day at Wager Talk TV on YouTube. And we're getting incredibly positive comments. People watching the show think it's one of the best out there. And guys, it's only going to get better. I've got half the stuff that I've ordered to set up a professional studio in my house. It'll be ready in August, and I'm excited about it. Let's talk Colorado Rockies. They're on the road, 2 games up. They're playing Arizona, 2 games down. Colorado playing much better so far, but they have struggled their last 3 games. They lost 2 to Houston, 1 to the Dodgers, 4-2 against Houston. And Arizona, they've lost their last 3. Dave, obviously I go to you first like I do every game. What do you like in this one? We've got a minus 175 for Greinke and an over and under of 8.5. Dave? Bryan, are you there? What's going on here, boys?
Well, boy, the Diamondbacks really needed a day off yesterday. I'll just keep talking in the meantime. You are not frozen now.
Okay, so, let us know.
Apparently, okay. So the Diamondbacks, I can't wait for you to set up a professional studio. The Diamondbacks really needed the day off yesterday because that was a disastrous series against the Dodgers where they blew 2 games and the bullpen was just awful. The good news is they get Greinke on the mound tonight. He's probably good for 7 innings, given the way he pitches. And being back home, while they're not a great home team, it's still a plus for them here. The Rockies, Senzatella, like many pitchers, the norm is that he's, of course, as he is on the road, he's actually been halfway decent on the road. I priced this about 160. I don't, as much as I like Greinke, I think he's being overpriced here. He's having a magnificent season, and he also contributes with the bat and with his defense. I mean, he's as good as it gets in terms of an overall performer. I think Arizona will win the game, but I think you can find better value elsewhere.
Bryan, what do you like in this one?
I'm kind of leaning towards the underdog here. Last 2 seasons, Colorado 19-10 against Arizona. You've got a home favorite, and a lot of this goes back to obviously the starter here in Greinke. But you got an Arizona team right now on the season. They're 28-32 against righties. Colorado's 26-25, so they're better against righties. Colorado on the road, 3 games under 500. Arizona at home, 5 games under 500. So Colorado's really no reason for them to be this high of an underdog here. Greinke is very good. We've all talked about it. He's a terrific pitcher. Senzatella, as Dave pointed out, on the road plays the Dodgers. 59-game score. Last time he played at Arizona, 57-game score. He played the Mets. We talked about their lack of hitting sometimes. 58-game score. So he's been very good on the road here. Based on the way Colorado's played against Arizona the last couple of years, I think this line's a little bit too high. I'm going to find a way to play the underdog in this one.
San Diego, losers of 5 in a row, just lost to the Dodgers 5-1. They're playing the Dodgers in Kershaw tonight. The Dodgers are minus 200. The over and under is 8.5, and I like the under in this game. San Diego is not hitting the ball all over the park, to say the least. They put up a 1 spot last night, and however good the Dodgers are, this is a team that isn't putting up 10 spots on a regular basis. They have put up 3 games in a row, and I think this game has got 5-2, 4-2 written all over it. I like the under in this one. Dave, what are you doing?
I don't have any beats with that because Padres aren't hitting. He's not the Kershaw of old. It's still a good pitcher. It's when you see a price this big, you want to try and see if you can make a case for the dog. I can't. Lauer has been really bad on the road for San Diego. I mean, the numbers are just terrible. Well, the ERA is bad. Actually, some of his analytics are not all that awful on the road, so he's had some bad luck. So the 6.49 ERA on the road is maybe a little misleading, but he's still not exactly in great form. He can have control problems at times. And the Dodgers are just on a roll. I mean, they've had 5 straight walk-off wins. And that's, how do you go against that?
Yeah.
You're not safe with any lead against this baseball team. To me, the Dodgers are going to find a way to win this. And it's priced about right at roughly $2.
Bryan, where are you going in this one?
Last 3 years, Dodgers 32-12 against the Padres. They have owned the Padres. Last 5 starts for Kershaw against the Padres, 2.18 ERA, 65 game score. But I think Eric Lauer, at least I entered the season thinking he was the weakness of this San Diego starting staff. But take a look at what he's done his last 5 starts, which has all been the last 2 years against the Dodgers. 1.46 ERA, 63 game score. This is one team that the Dodgers haven't hit him very well. You talked about the under in this game. I find it hard to go against that thinking in this game. Kershaw's not the strikeout pitcher he was in the past, but he is a control pitcher, doesn't allow any walks, usually about 1 a game. And that's the one thing that Lauer does is his last 10 games, he had 2 that he didn't have any walks, 2 he gave up 1. So not going to be many base runners in this game. If you're one of those guys, and you don't see it very often, I've only got like 1 shop here in Vegas that has it, runs, hits, errors under for the game. They have it at Cantor. Pretty much that's about it. They may have it at Westgate. But that would look to me because, the Dodgers do have a lot of power. They can hit that home run, whatever, 2 or 3 guys on base. That could hurt you with the under. If you could play the runs, hits, errors under in this game, I think there's going to be some value in that.
Guys, really quick, make sure to head over to sportsmemo.com. Matt Joseph is the featured handicapper there. Half off his baseball tonight. Use the promo code HALF as well. Wagertalk.com. Hakeem profits on a 12-4 baseball run. You can have his play for $15 instead of $25. Use the promo code H50. And don't sleep on Buster or Andrew McGinnis's Canadian football. The St. Louis Cardinals. Dave, before we get into this game, here's my question to you, and then to Bryan, same question. This team was in a huge slump. They just won 3 of their last 4 games. Are they a bye team moving forward?
Well, I don't know if they're a bye team moving forward. I can't say that, no. But they were a bye team in June. I mean, I think they're the 3rd most profitable team in baseball over the past month. Who would have thought that? So they're playing respectable ball, and one of the reasons is actually Drew Pomeranz at home. I know Bryan will get into the game scores. This guy's pitching really good baseball at home. Dakota Hudson looked early in the season like he might end up back in the minors, but he started to pitch extremely well. I guess I'll throw out his last start, which was a complete disaster. He did not have his command, and he just got absolutely wrecked in that game. But it was just 1 start. The problem is for the Cardinals, and this is why the line moved so much in this game. It opened, in the 130 area.
Yeah.
On the Cardinals, and the Giants are now the favorite. The Cardinals are just not a very good baseball team right now. They're not hitting. I know they won a couple of games in a row against Seattle. One of those was a 5-run 9th inning when the Seattle bullpen blew up. And the other one, they managed to squeeze out a win yesterday. Beating the Mariners means next to nothing at this point because they're as bad as anybody in baseball. So, I think the bettors got this one right. I actually think the odds makers got it wrong. And the bettors capitalized on it and took the Giants. Now there's no more value left in it. I had the game circled and should have posted it last night, should have played it last night. I didn't. And he who hesitates gets beat. So I'm probably not going to play the game now, but I would definitely lean the Giants' way. It's just that the value's kind of gone at this point.
Bryan, I like the over in this game. Both these teams are seeing the ball well from a batter perspective. St. Louis put up a 5.545 in their last 4 games, and San Francisco is just hitting the ball over the park, a 7-10, 13, and 10. I don't think either of these pitchers are worthy of an 8.5. I think that number is low. I'm pushing towards the over.
If you're looking towards the talent of the pitchers, and as Dave pointed out, Pomerantz at home, 62, 58, 55, 67, his last 4 or 5 at home. He's been very good at home. Hudson's another guy, and Dave even talked about him getting beat up, but a lot of that came down to unearned runs. They only gave up 1 earned run. He only went 1.2 innings, only a 30-game score, but the 7 runs, a lot of that was unearned. So he was good.
I watched the game, and he was not locating the ball well, and he got hit really hard.
Yeah.
I didn't look back. There was a key error, but I think he gave up back-to-back homers, and he got mashed.
Yeah,
but he's been pitching really well before that.
Well, you look at his last 7 games, 5 of those 7 he never gave up a homer at all. So for him to give up 2 of them in just a little over 1 inning, you could tell he didn't have it in that game. But overall, Hudson's been pretty good for St. Louis. But as the host Prez pointed out, take a look at what San Francisco's done: 7-10, 13-10. I would look towards the under, but San Francisco right now, they're not a good offensive team.
No.
But you have any team in baseball. Look at what Miami has done over that month stretch. They hit the ball really well. Now they're back to where they were early in the season. But you don't want to stand in line betting against a team who's seeing the ball really well. So this is a game that I'll be sitting out, and we'll have to see what happens. But, I probably won't be involved in this game.
Baltimore just beat Tampa Bay 9-6. They've won 1 of their last 4 games. Toronto zigzagging the last 6. They just lost 7-8 to Boston, but they are hitting the ball well. I mean, you look at this Toronto batting lineup right now: 7, 6, 6, 11, 6, 7, 6, 7, 3, 8. Almost every game, 1, 2, 3, 7 of 10 games have gone over the total in this for Toronto. 2 really bad teams, though, which does usually lend itself to the over. 10.5 is the number. Sanchez, who's an utter disaster, playing Bundy, who is incredibly inconsistent over his career. Toronto minus 127 to 130, over and under 10.5. I'm playing the over in this game. Dave, where are you going?
Now, that's where the money's showing. It hasn't been a great deal of movement on the side, but the over's going from 10 with the under juiced.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it was actually lower than that, and it might have been a 9.5 out there at one point yesterday. And now it's 10.5 with the over juiced at a couple of sharp stores. How do you argue against that? I mean, this is one where if you're going to play totals, you should have been on it immediately.
Yeah, of course.
Because this is one that total could only go up in this game. Dylan Bundy's no good. I think he wants to get out of there, and I don't blame him. Sanchez is just awful. He's as bad a starting pitcher as there is in baseball.
Oh, absolutely.
So there's no way I could even consider laying $1.30 with Toronto. Off the pitching numbers, I would give the edge to the Orioles. But do I want to take 120 with the Orioles? The team's 25-61. Plus 120 isn't enough, no matter who they're playing. No, the over was the right way to play, and this is one of the, again, kind of like the last game, kind of missed the boat on this one.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I get it. I bet it. I got it at 10. I think at 10.5, it's still a good number. I'm in Toronto. The game is in Toronto. It's super humid, super hot. I think the ball's going to carry. And I think with
I get that. But the one problem is if a game opened 10 under and now it's 10.5 over, you can't bet the over. I mean, if you just do that long term, you're going to get killed. You just can't do it. This is and I'll go off on a little bit of a tangent here.
Go do your thing.
There's a website that consistently talks about, I'm not going to get into them. I'm not going to name names or anything like that. but you might be able to figure out who they are. And they make a real big deal about fading public's money and following the sharp money. And that makes sense to the novice bettor. But to anybody who's experienced, the problem is if you do that, you're never going to get the best number. You're always going to be paying a penalty to do so. And the one thing every bettor should know and should chisel in stone is if you play bad numbers, if you play beat up numbers long term, you will lose money. There is absolutely 0% chance that you will win long term doing that. So that's why I'm saying even in this game, and believe me, I should have bet the over yesterday in the game. I didn't. I can't bet it now because of what I just said.
Bryan, what do you like in this one?
As Dave pointed out, you got to pay attention to the markets. There's people out there these aren't your normal guys betting this game over in the overnight. I mean, those are professional gamblers betting that overnight. So, I totally agree with what he said on this. And although I see the over is the only way that I would look for a total, why would you not play Baltimore here? Baltimore on the road, 14-30, terrible. Toronto at home, 17-28. What would you rather be, 14-30 on the road or 17-28 at home? They're both shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
great point.
And as was pointed out, Aaron Sanchez, his last 7 starts, game grade 28. Here's his last 4 starts: 16, 15, 23, 20. Keep in mind, Major League Baseball's average is 50. As opposed to Dylan Bundy, his is 48. Nothing great, but he's only 2 below league average. Sanchez, anytime Sanchez is a favorite, you've got to bet against him here. Dylan Bundy, talent-wise, he's much better than Sanchez. We got the better pitchers on the road here with Bundy against Sanchez. Just sometimes I call him a spite pick. It's a spite pick. Nobody wants to bet Baltimore in this game, but there's hell no way I'm betting Toronto in this game. I'm taking the plus money with Baltimore. If it beats me, it beats me. But you can't lay with this guy right now, Sanchez. Who knows? He continues to. They try to play him out. He's only going 3 innings because he's getting beat. But when he's halfway bad, he goes 6 innings. So they're trying to give him a chance. And if he's in this game for 5 innings, that means that Baltimore has scored probably 7 runs.
Yeah, he is.
Good news on Sanchez is I believe they can non-tender him after this season, so you won't have to put up with him anymore in Toronto after this year. Good.
Bye, Aaron Sanchez. You know, I find this Boston-Detroit game interesting, and I'll tell you why. Boston, for however we spoke yesterday, Dave, what a hangover they're having. They're 46-41. You don't like the way their team is constructed. They are minus 18 units on the money line for their customers. Detroit, 28-54, and they're only minus 15 units for their customers. What?
But if you look at Ralph Michaels, who's hot and who's not, which is free at Wager Talk, you will see that the Tigers are the dead last in dollars won or lost. They're at the very bottom, 30 out of 30 over the past month.
Well, they've lost 8 of 10. I mean, they finally won a game against the White Sox 11-5. But here's my take. Soto's a disaster. But Rodriguez is not having a great season either. 4.79 ERA, 5.3 in his last 3 games. I'm thinking in all seriousness with this line the way it is, Boston is minus 225 up to 230 on the road. The over and under is 11. I think the dog is in play here.
They're all yours. I don't go against Eduardo Rodriguez because the Red Sox almost never lose when he pitches. They're like 31-9 or something the last 2 years. And actually, he's off a really good start. And he pitched in London, and he was impressive in that game. I think he only gave up 2 runs in 6 innings, and then the bullpen came in and just fell apart. He should be able to control this Detroit lineup. Soto, for as long as he goes for Detroit, he's not an opener, but he's not going to pitch more than 3 or 4 innings. No, the Red Sox should coast here. Of course, I've said that a few times, and it hasn't happened. So take that with a chunk of salt.
Bryan, what do you like?
I'm with the Prez here. I think there's big value on the dog here. Last 3 years, Boston against the Tigers. Keep this in mind. The Red Sox have won the World Series. The Tigers have been one of the worst teams in baseball. Boston, 7 wins, 6 losses to the Tigers. Soto, not a good pitcher. He's a lefty. He's going, like Dave pointed out, he's never gone more than 4 innings this year. In his games, he's more of a start, one of those openers, whatever. But he's a lefty. And the Red Sox, 9-14 on the season versus left-handed starters. So I don't see them getting too many runs against Soto here. And you talked about Detroit. The last 3 games, they scored 11, 6, and 5, which is fine. They were terrible offensively before that. But keep in mind the teams they were playing before they played Chicago in that last series. The Washington Nationals, probably the hottest team in baseball right now. Texas Rangers, one of the hottest teams in baseball. So they went up against some really hot baseball teams, and now they're going up against a Boston team who's only won 4 out of their last 10. You talked about Rodriguez pitching very well in London. Well, he's got to come back from London, and he faced the Yankees. So that was when Boston plays the Yankees. The next series, I like to go against either one of those teams, especially Boston, because they get so up to play the Yankees in that. The Yankees come back and they play Toronto and they win 2 out of 3. But Toronto, as Prez knows, they're not very good. When you're playing a dog of this size, it doesn't take me a lot of things to go on to take a shot on them. And I think Detroit has enough positives in this game for me to put some money on the Tigers here.
I'm with you 100%. And listeners, keep in mind, it's not like Bryan and I are saying, Detroit is the team in this game and they'll win 6 out of 10 times in this spot. Detroit is getting a ton of money in this game, and that's really why we're interested in this bet. Let's talk Yankees, Tampa Bay. This is a very big series for Tampa Bay. They're 2 up in the wild card spot. They're 7.5 back on the Yankees. They just lost a game to the Yankees, 8-4. They're at home tonight. It's almost a pick'em. The over and under is 8.5. Tanaka's on the mound. Dave, tell us about Brendan McKay first, and then what you like in this game.
Well, Brendan McKay is very highly regarded. He's a two-way player. He's going to both pitch and do some DHing for Tampa. I don't know how long he'll last as a hitter. His bat is, I don't think his bat rivals his arm. The kid can pitch. There's not much question he can pitch. He's a good one. And in his debut, a spectacular performance. When you talk about game scores, it doesn't get much better than that. That's 100. But last night, this is just typical of the way it goes for Tampa against the Yankees. It's a 3-1 Yankee lead going into the bottom of the ninth. I've got the Yankees in the game. And Aroldis Chapman, who's pretty much lights out, comes in. And Chapman doesn't have it. He's all over the place with his fastball. He wild pitches twice. Had no control. Tampa ties it up and left the bases loaded. And I knew when they left the bases loaded, I said, well, I'm going to win this because now Tampa's going to find a way to lose this like they always do against the Yankees. They're 2-8 against the Yankees this year. And if it's close, they find a way to lose the game, and the Yankees find a way to win it. Tanaka is very difficult to make a case for on the road. He has not pitched well. He was not good in his last start. They showed shots of him in the dugout last night. He was fiddling with his grip. So we'll see what he does tonight. But I can't go against the Yankees. They just own this Tampa Bay team. Yeah. And by the way, it's a virtual home game for them. They'll get 20,000 in the stands tonight, and 15,000 of them are going to be Yankee fans. So to me, it's Yankees or nothing.
Bryan?
Before we get into this one, I just want to touch on something you said, Prez, to finish off the last one about the Detroit-Boston. Detroit's getting like 210 in this game, which means that all they got to do is win 31. They're expected to win about 31% of the time. What we're saying is we think Detroit is going to win more than 31% of the time, and that's how guys who make a living betting baseball, that's how they do it. If you're a 60, if you're a 200 favorite, you're 67%. Last night, the Dodgers, I thought, I used it for my client, as a client play. I couldn't sell it, but I thought the Dodgers were cheap as hell last night with Rio on the mound, and that was a no-brainer all the way through, but it's not something you could sell. But you know damn well I was betting it because the line's saying they had a 70% chance of winning, and I thought it was a lot higher than that. So that's something that is the professional bettor, and Dave knows as well as anybody. Even though a line is going to tell you that they're expensive, they're not expensive enough sometimes. And
yeah.
In this one, I think there's value on the Tigers.
And you pointed out that the Tigers in that spot are 7-6 or 6-7, so they're clearly hitting that 33% number. And well explained. Talk to us about the Yankees, Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I'm the same way with Dave here. We take a look at what Tampa has done. Usually they play the Yankees pretty well. This year, 8-2. The Yankees have just dominated them. I like the McKay kid. He only had 3 strikeouts in his first game, but I think he's better than that. The advantage McKay is going to have is when they play a game again in the National League Park. Excuse me. They won't need to use a DH, so that's one extra guy on the bench for Tampa because he'll be able to be the hitter as an actual pitcher. So that's something that keep in mind in that regard. But Tanaka's a guy that he's dominated Tampa. He's played Tampa 3 times already this year. Game scores 70, 72, 92 his last time he played them, which is 92 is incredible. 9 innings pitched, no earned runs, one walk, two hits, 10 strikeouts. He's been dominating Tampa this year. So Tampa's really struggled with him. Now, normally I look for some regression in that regard, but still, when you're coming off of a 92, 72, and 70, regression could be 60. And that's still very good. So I'm going to sit this one out. I want to see what Brendan McKay does against this Yankees lineup, though.
He's Bryan Leonard, Dave Cokin with us. First pitch Monday to Friday at Wager Talk TV on our YouTube channel. Keep in mind, no show until Thursday, in which Marco will be hosting. And also head over to wagertalk.com. Get down on Buster Sports' Canadian football. As well, Hakeem Profits 12-4 run. He's half price at wagertalk.com. Use the promo code H50. Dave, this Los Angeles Angels team, I mean, we've been talking about them a lot this week, especially with Skaggs passing away. They won 2 of 3 in Texas. And, even though they lost 3 in a row against Oakland, I think this team has got a lot of chemistry. I think this team, prior to the unfortunate incident was having fun playing baseball. They're a great team to watch. They're playing Houston, and Houston is rolling right now. They had a little hiccup, but they have won 5 in a row. But 3 of those games are against Seattle. Verlander is on the mound tonight. He is lights out. He has struggled his last 3 starts, but that is going to happen all the time. But this is one of the best pitchers in baseball this year, last year, and over the last decade. With all that said, I cannot lay 230 here, or 207 or 205, whatever it happens to be. I don't want to get in the way of the Los Angeles Angels. I don't know what to do here. I think it's an outright pass, maybe a lean to the under.
Yeah. I don't know about the under. The Angels are swinging the bats pretty well. And Verlander hasn't been all that sharp lately. And the problem with the Angels here is this is a Ramirez Open, followed by Felix Pena. There's some long ball potential there. Pena can get hit pretty hard. And Houston's starting to swing the bat again. I think he get some runs here. Lean over. I'm not going to lay the price. But this is one where I don't have any interest in the Angels.
Bryan, talk to us.
I've got nothing on this game, but I do want to touch on something that I only do the show on Fridays. I unfortunately didn't get a chance to listen to the show when you did it on Monday or Tuesday after the news about Tyler Skaggs passing. I had, and I don't want to be unsensitive here or insensitive, when teams lose a player like that. We've seen it, I believe, a few years ago. The Connecticut football team had some shootings and a couple guys died. We know what happened in the Cleveland Indians in the boat accident a few years ago. Same thing with Fernandez for Miami.
Yeah.
Teams come back after that, and I always bet. And betting is nothing compared to what we're talking about, but I always want to bet on that team because they have a purpose. They are playing to honor that player, and I really thought the Angels were going to take a lot of money in that game, and nobody really said much about it. And after the game, normally they high five each other. They were hugging each other. They were crying after the game. It's a handicapping angle I hope I never have to see the rest of my life. But if the game is going to be played, that's the way you've got to take a look at it. And like yesterday, Texas, all the numbers said Texas should have been the play. I didn't play it because the Angels had not lost yet after that.
Same here.
Yeah, but just keep in mind that, and not only the team you're looking to bet on has some emotional edge. You're telling me Texas went into that game, they had the moment of silence and everything. Some of the Texas players knew him. Keep in mind, this, we're all very competitive, and I've been very competitive in my life. You go out and something like that happens to the team you're playing, you don't have the same will to win in that game. It's especially in baseball when you got 162 games. That one game, chances are, it's not going to mean anything. Keep that in mind in the future. Hopefully, we'll never have to use that again. But there is money to be made in that situation. It's insensitive for me to say it, but we gamble for a living, and keep that in mind in the future. Like I said, hopefully it'll never happen. But
so, Bryan, when does that end, though? They won 2 in a row. They lost.
You have to watch to see what happens, because there have been teams that have come out after a tragedy and played well for a few games and then have really gone bad.
Yeah,
really gone bad. Yeah. So it varies from one situation to the next. I think the Angels will be okay. I hope they are. That franchise has had a lot of bad luck.
They sure have.
I'm cheering for them right now. So, Dave, in regards to the Houston, for me, that's why I'm laying off this game. I just want to really see the Angels play this out, and I think it's just way too big a number for me to bet on Houston.
Oh, I'm not betting on Houston.
Yeah, Bryan.
I'm not taking.
Yeah, I pass on that game. I don't see any value.
Texas playing Minnesota. Texas 47-40, Mini 54-32. Texas has lost 4 of their last 5. We just spoke about them. 2 of those were against the Angels. And Dave, you actually mentioned that Texas was going to have a little bit of a regression, and you called that correct. Minnesota, you said the same thing. You said, Minnesota's going to come down to earth a bit. Bryan, you were on last Friday, and you talked about the bats in Minnesota and how it's just not going to continue all year. They've lost 3 of their last 4. You've got Sampson versus Prez on the mound tonight. Minnesota is minus 172 and over and under of 10. There are a few 10.5s. Dave, I go to you first. I like the over in this game. I think there's going to be some hitting.
Could be. Martin Perez is not pitching as well as he did earlier in the season, although his last start was pretty good. Adrian Sampson is not impressive. He's been really bad on the road, and the Twins should be able to do some damage against him. The one worry I'd have is Texas lineup is clearly better suited to face righties than lefties, and so Perez off his last start, might be ready for a little bit of a spurt again. I think the Twins are probably winners in this game, but it's really chalky and in fact too chalky. The value, I think, is probably with the Rangers at the price being this high.
Bry?
Yeah, I don't mind Adrian Sampson at all. His last 7 starts, his strikeout to walk ratio 40-8. That's 5-1. That's pretty impressive. That's the best he's had in his young career. His game scores last 2 times out, 55 and 62. He has been up and down. When he's played, when he's been bad, he's been really bad. When he's been good, he's been really good.
Guys,
Bryce, the kind of guy I try to avoid. Yes.
You and Dave continue talking. I'll be back in 5 minutes. I don't have a choice. It's raining. Okay. My convertible roof is open.
All right. Well, we can handle it. We'll finish up this game and we'll go to the next one.
Well, Martin Perez, this is a big game for him. He used to pitch for Texas, and Sampson was basically the guy in the lineup that took his place. So Perez has something extra to go for in this game. Usually when you see a team like that, a pitcher in that team that going against his former team, he pitches very well. So I'm not playing this game, but I could see both pitchers having a better game than what they normally have.
Who leaves their convertible top open outside?
Well, I guess
I drive here unless it's 30 years. I never leave the top open if I'm not with the car.
Well, that's the difference between Canada and the United States. He can leave his car open and unlocked in Canada. You don't see that in the United States anymore.
Used to be able to do that here in Las Vegas in the early 80s.
Yeah, everywhere it was. When I grew up in Cleveland, you could do that.
I had a gold Cadillac convertible, and I used to park at when it was hot, I wouldn't do it because the seat would be like 9 million degrees. But I'd drive down to the Castaways almost every day and just leave the top open. And there'd be cassette tapes sitting in the car. They'd still be there when you got out there. There was zero crime here then, none. I mean,
at this point, if you have cassette tapes in your car, they will still be there. I guarantee that.
Yeah, you're right. Oakland's at Seattle. Matchup of lefties, Brett Anderson on the mound for the A's, who are playing very good ball. Kikuchi will go for the Mariners. And it's a pretty big price on the road. Oakland opened 135. They've gone up to mid-140s. I can't disagree with that. The A's are playing good ball. They've got a lineup that's constructed to hit lefties. Kikuchi has been a train wreck for Seattle. They paid all this money to get him, so they're going to keep using him. But there is nothing to indicate he's going to get big league hitters out. And he's probably eventually going to be a very expensive lefty specialist out of the bullpen. He's just not very good. I know I'll let you handle the game scores, but I've got him with one average game score in his last 7 starts and the other 6 on the wrong side of that 50 level. I mean, it's pricey, but Oakland sure looks like the right side.
Yeah, a rare opportunity. We've got 2 left-handed pitchers going. You don't see that very often on the season. The Oakland A's against lefties, 16-7. Seattle Mariners against lefties, 8-17. So you see why Oakland is taking the money here. Brett Anderson, we joked a couple weeks ago that it's about time for him to get hurt, but he continues to pitch well. 52 game score his last 5 against Seattle, 51 overall his last 7 overall. He did have that terrible game against Tampa on the 23rd, lasted 3 innings, give up 7 earned runs. But Anderson is the way I would look at here. Kikuchi, as you mentioned, just has not pitched well. He's already faced Oakland 3 times this year. Game scores 52, 53, and then a clunker of 22. They've gotten a good look at him. And when you face a guy as often as they have, and he doesn't have good stuff, that's not a good future to look for Kikuchi. So I like Oakland here. The number's a little higher than what I would tend to play normally, but I don't like this Seattle in this game at all.
In the last game,
look at. Go ahead, Dave.
Are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I drive a BMW 4 Series convertible. It was so magnificent before the show started, not a cloud in the sky. And then all of a sudden it opened up. I got into the car and there was literally my seats are like the cup bucket seats. I basically just sat in water. And I've already totaled a convertible many years ago. I left it out in the rain. And the electronics malfunctioned. The actual car was completely totaled. Anyway, I missed.
So I drive Mercedes. I'm assuming with BMW, you don't have to hand crank the convertible top, right? I mean, you can just press a button and it closes, right?
Yeah.
So why don't you just press the goddamn button?
I did, but I can't do it while I'm inside the house.
But I'm saying, just when you get out of the car, you put the top up.
Yeah, I'm lazy. Any games left to talk about?
Yeah, we've got this big one between the Royals and the Nationals. And the Nationals are the hottest team in baseball right now. 45-41 doesn't look like much, but man, they're playing some really good baseball. They're actually even getting some halfway decent bullpen work. And the Royals are just god awful. Here's where what's interesting on this game is if you're doing your odds making, your own individual odds making based on the full season, then this price would be high because, even as bad as the Royals are, you can't justify a team that's 4 games over 500 with somebody named Austin Voth on the mound as a 185 favorite. But based on the way they are playing right now, that line actually might be a little bit cheap. And that's why the 167 that opened on this game got hammered. And I think with good reason. The Nationals they're red hot, and the Royals just atrocious.
The Nationals are literally holding firm, tied with Philadelphia for the last wild card. It's unbelievable. I mean, we literally wrote this team
they're ahead
off.
Of the Phillies now. They actually are ahead of the Phillies by a half game now.
Yeah, and we wrote this team off, Dave. I mean, we thought that we thought this was the end of Washington, and they just keep winning. Bryan, what do you like in this game?
We all seem to think we're a little bit smarter than the average guy. About a month ago, I was in the Hard Rock. I think there was a concert. And I'm looking up at the board, and they had Washington Nationals 70-1 to win the World Series. And I said, God damn, this team has got so much talent. That is a gift. And then I didn't bet them, and the next time it popped into my head, they got hot, and now they're down to 30-1. I blew a big chance on Washington. Washington are nothing for me in here, and it's probably nothing, but this Washington team, keep in mind for these teams that have a ton of talent and just don't play well, all it takes is a little bit of spark, and then all of a sudden they get on a run. You can make a lot of money, but now we're getting to the point now where everybody knows that Washington's playing well. We might have lost our chance to make money on Washington, but damn, I'm kicking myself for not getting that 70-1.
I like the under in this game. To me, Washington's pitching has just been outstanding. 2-1, 2-1, a 7 against Detroit, 1-5-5, 1-4. What this team is doing is they're doing it on both sides of the ball. I'm really impressed with this team, but 10.5 is too big a number for me. I like the under. Guys, this is the end of the week. Our longest show of the week, as always. Bryan, Leonard, full of information. Dave, love co-hosting with you every day. Boys, enjoy your long weekend. Enjoy your rest, because it's pretty much the only 3 or 4 day period where there's no betting all year long, except for that damn WNBA and CFL. But that's okay. Only a few games here or there. We'll see you in a week, Dave, and enjoy your trip. And Bryan, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, guys. Thanks, listeners. Make sure to keep commenting and posting. I read them all. I comment on them all. I love it. Ask for Marco to come back. It doesn't matter to me. Just keep posting. Thanks, boys. Be well and have yourselves a great weekend.
Best of luck, everyone.